Hi guys, welcome back to another video. I am very happy to be here. As you may notice, I didn't follow through with what I said of uploading a video weekly. At the moment, I wasn't willing to I wasn't willing to give in the time to make a good channel and upload weekly. I believe I am right now in a better place, or in a very or a better moment for me to keep this channel on float and keep uploading and keep doing this a better channel. But well, only time will say that I am really motivated right now, and I want to make this a habit. As I said, I am doing this also because I want to practice my English. And yeah, I am very happy to be back. I hope that I am I hope that I will keep uploading constantly these videos and try to make this maybe the best YouTube channel I can make. So yeah, we're back. And right now, I don't know if you remember, I was talking about making this channel about running and finance, but also I talked about making it a place for me to review books, movies, and all that sort of stuff. In this opportunity, I brought a book, Outliers. Okay? To be honest, this book took me over 2.5 years to finish it. The real reason it First of all, it isn't a very long book. It isn't difficult to read. It's actually a very I found it very pleasant to read. It's an easy read, to be honest. But I kept getting new books in my table on my table that caught my eye, so I kept reading them. And yeah, I got distracted, to be honest. But I have to say, this book may be one of the best books I have read. And the reason is because when I bought this book, I thought that I was buying like the secret sauce for success. I mean, the title, it's Outliers. So as any youngster in their 20s that wants to get like successful, maybe yeah, get successful, money, fame. Right now I am not looking for that, but yeah, success. I believe that this book was like, this is the way. But what I liked about it is that when you started reading it, you find out it isn't about how to get successful. Eh, Or maybe yes, but not as I thought so. So, Outliers, first of all, tells a story about how success is made, and it's very interesting. For example, I thought that this was like a step-by-step guide on how to get successful, as Atomic Habit is for building good habits. I will make a video about it. One of the reasons I finished this book just recently, because this got in my way. Also, Shoe Dog got in my way, and several other books I hope to make reviews on. But the fact is that when I started reading this book, first I got surprised because one of the first topics they talk about is hockey. And from now on, there will be spoilers. So if you want to go check this book, I suggest you to maybe stop this video and read it, and then you can play it again. So it's about hockey. And well, I like this book because it demystifies success. Oftenly, people put success on a pedestal, and well, it's normal because there are only a few people that have like the social standards of success, or which are fame and money. But the fact is that it demystifies success by telling you that success is no more, or at least as that's how I see it after reading this. Success is no more than time, hard work, and just a tiny bit of luck. Okay, because I believe there isn't good luck or bad luck, just luck. I will get further in that through the video, but it's a matter of luck and hard work, mainly hard work and time. So let's start with the first chapter. To be honest, I really don't like the the divisions they make in books unless they are strictly necessary. I think that this was a good division, but yeah, let's say that I liked how they divided it, because the part one of this book, it's called Opportunity, and I love it because it it is exactly that. For example, when they start to talk about hockey players, it's very interesting how they tell this. For example, in Canada, or at least where they made this study, but I believe it's in Canada. In Canada, they make like the draft for the hockey players in, I believe it's middle school or early high school, but yeah, it's middle school. But in middle school, they they make like the draft for the hockey teams. Okay, I don't know if in your school was like this, but I was born on the year 2000 and on February, and I was placed by being born in the year 2000 in February with the ones that were born in 1999 since, I believe, August, or maybe uh, July, I think. So, oh wait, camera. Yeah, since August. So, the ones that were born in 1999 in August was placed with me, born in the year 2000 in February. What happens? Also, they will, if I believe in my class was someone from June or July. Okay, so people born on July of the year 2000 would also be placed with the ones born on August of 1999. What happens? If you were born in August of 1999, you would have been almost a year older than the ones born on July of the year 2000. You may say these people would have had maybe better, or well, you could say that we had like the same intellectual capacity to absorb topics. I mean, I don't remember being like the the one with less. I didn't had like the worst grades or something like that. But what we did notice is that people born in 1999 was physically more developed than the ones born on the year 2000. Like, for example, they got taller earlier than us, the ones from the year 2000. That happened exactly in Canada with the hockey players. For example, if a hockey player was born on August of 1999 and he wanted to get in the hockey team, he will get oftenly more selected than the ones from February or the ones from July of the year 2000. And the reason is that they would have been taller, maybe even more muscular, because he was just bigger. Because it's it's nature, okay? You're older, you get developed earlier, most of the cases, and it's something just normal. But where it comes the thing, the fact that he is taller doesn't make him better yet. It's the fact that he got drafted a year earlier, he got exposed to playing the game a year earlier, and maybe next year when I get drafted because I grew taller, I would have had 1 year less of 1 year less of playing time or exposure to the game than the one born in 1999. So it's a very, let's say, interesting topic. And why is that? Because let's see it like this. Let's say that uh, someone born on August of 1999 got to play 1 year more than me by the end of high school or school. Odds tell that he would maybe continue his career, and I wasn't good enough. And believe me, they talk about how these early years are like primordial for the development of the athlete and that sort of stuff. And well, statistics talk by themselves. They show a table where they show it. So it's very interesting. And now we start looking at how, yeah, luck, you were born in August of 1999, played a factor. But the fact is that if you aren't putting the time, or you're not good enough, or you're not motivated, or you don't have the drive to play hockey, you're not gonna be a famous hockey player. Okay? It's a fact of hard work. So putting luck aside, hard work and time really plays a huge role. After that, they talk about how 10,000 hours make how 10,000 hours of any activity makes you very good at it. And they put the case of Bill Gates. It's very interesting because Bill Gates did have a factor of luck. I'm not saying that he was like, well, yeah, he was rich, okay? But the fact is that by being rich, he was exposed to computers earlier than most of people around the world that at that at those years or that decade. Like for example, he was in a school where he got exposed to computer science at a very early age, where when most of people had to wait until college to maybe even see a computer. So what's this? As and how it all contributes to his development. It's the fact that he got exposed earlier. He started coding or whatever he was doing with computers at that age earlier than most of people. But what distinguishes him from that uh, is that he may have been he may had he may had the opportunity to be exposed to to computers earlier, but so as he but most there were a lot of kids that were exposed just as he did. And why weren't they founding like another Microsoft or another Apple or another huge software company? It's the fact that Bill Gates put the hours and had interest on the topic. Like he actually liked it. So that's a very, very good combination. It had a tiny bit of luck because he had the opportunity, but also he put in the hard work and the hours. Okay, so it's actually great because imagine this. They also put the example of the Beatles. As you know, the Beatles was it's. I mean, there's still two, like uh, two of them are still alive. So the band split up, but they were a huge band. Okay, and the fact that they were a huge band is the fact that it's because they practice a lot. Like for example, they had like an era where it was the Hamburg Crucible. I took note about it because I like the how they call that, the Hamburg Crucible, where they would go into strip clubs and bars and play for hours and hours long. Okay, they made like 5 trips in 1 year to Hamburg, playing in strip clubs, bars, and all that sort of stuff for several hours with a not so happy audience or nice audience. So they were like pretty tough, and they had to play good. They had to be good musicians, and I am 100% sure that they practice, and all that practice and all that stuff gave them the abilities to later perform at the level they were performing on their live presentations. Like this, the Hamburg Crucible made the Beatles what they were, and that's awesome. Like, for example, think about it. You could say, "Oh yeah, John Lennon is a genius. Bill Gates is a genius." But the fact is that John Lennon, the Beatles, put in the hours. They must have passed the 10,000 hours. You know that that says that it takes like 10,000 hours to become really proficient in anything. Well, I believe the Beatles had like 12,000 hours. The book says so, that they had like 12,000 hours of practice for before their first actual show. So it's pretty interesting how it it really, how practice makes perfect, and that hard work really paid off. And they later on in the book talks about, and they talk about geniuses. I really love this chapter because they show how there are two types of intelligence: the analytical intelligence, that is the one that most of us know. It's the one from the IQ test. For example, I took an IQ test just recently, and it's mostly analysis. Okay, like for example, understanding problems and that sort of stuff, or even, yeah, it's really weird. The exam is like with shapes, like understanding some sequences and all that sort of stuff. But well, oftenly that used to define intelligence. But they talk that real geniuses are the ones that, besides a good amount of analytical intelligence, have practical intelligence. And they use the example of some guy that has like the highest IQ recorded on recent history. I believe that the one that had the most was some guy that learned several languages and learned like Portuguese in an afternoon. Actually, pretty cool. But they talk about a guy. I'm not going to talk about him or his story. It's quite long, but the fact is that he had like a huge IQ. He comes from a very poor family, or a family, or a dysfunctional family. I don't remember, it was before I took the break. But the fact is that they talk about him and then they compare him to another genius, that is Oppenheimer. And why is that? Because Oppenheimer had a good amount of analytical intelligence. I believe you have to you need analytical intelligence to understand uh, quantum quantum physics. But practical intelligence is it goes beyond that. It's how to use those skills in social situations also. For example, Oppenheimer, they use this example in the book. Oppenheimer used to do like conferences about rocks. He was an avid collector of rocks, and he loved them and did a lot of like presentations and stuff since he was like a little kid. So as a little kid, he was doing presentations about rocks in front of very from in front of adult men. So he got exposed to these social interactions since early age, and so this type of social interactions really develops those practical intelligence skills. For example, I will put just a great analogy that I am thinking about it. I believe that every politician has practical intelligence. I don't know if you saw the the movie from Oppenheimer, but it shows you how he transitions from a pure scientist, yeah, science, from a scientist dedicated to science towards a more political scientist, and it shows like those two. I believe it could be it could be like two optics of the individual, and I believe that Oppenheimer is a great example because he started being a scientist and gravitated towards science and towards politics, and this development was so interesting because, for example, the guy that only had analytical science, he had a very hard time with people. And we have to understand that we humans are social animals. And being bad at social skills really doesn't contribute contribute to the global standards of success. And that may be a detractor for you to become what society calls a genius. So this guy may be very intelligent, but isn't recognized as a genius. I believe in the movie of Oppenheimer, you may have heard about Oppenheimer, but you may not know the ones that were in Project Manhattan. And the fact is that Oppenheimer was the one that had those social skills. He had the practical intelligence to become the genius of the project. Okay, so yeah, that's that's very interesting. Also, they talk later on in the book about, let's say, maybe odds. For example, they put an example, and I will take back what I was. I will take the idea I had previously about good and bad luck. For example, there is just luck. In the book, they talk about how Jewish lawyers used to be like segregated towards other type of cases that that weren't so popular at the time, that were mergers and acquisitions. And time passes, and then mergers and acquisitions has like a huge boom, and corporations didn't call the other lawyers that were like, I don't know, in divorce in or in cases or whatever other cases there are in law. They went straight to Jewish lawyers that were very focused on, or were like the best in mergers and acquisitions, because they will not be allowed to entered other firms, and they become like super successful. They had like they made a lot of money, and that's just interesting how at the moment you may think that you don't have luck, but later you say, thank God that happened to me because I was allowed to form part of this moment in life. So yeah, it's that's some that was one chapter that I loved. And the last one was one that really opened up my eyes, and it's called Rice Paddies and Mathematicians, and or something like that. They talk about how in China, the culture of China, or well, China and Japan and Korea and all those Asian countries, it's I don't know if you know the saying that America is the land of corn, Europe is the land of wheat or potatoes. I don't remember. But Asia is the land of rice. And something about rice is that rice is very difficult to harvest. In the book, they talk about rice paddies. Rice paddies, they are they're very difficult to harvest because you have to be very you have to be aware about it like like a lot of time. You spend a lot of time to get a good amount of rice, and it's like the perfect representation of our work, and that's something I loved about it. Like for example, I'm going to read you some of the some of the sayings they have in in China. Okay, we here in Venezuela we have the one saying that it's Dios proveerá, that God, it means that God will give. And I believe there is a saying in English that what God gives, God takes. But look at these sayings. Like they are very harsh. No food without blood and sweat. Farmers are busy. Are busy. Farmers are busy. If farmers weren't busy, where would where will grain get through the winter come from? In winter, the lazy man freezes to death. Don't depend on heaven for food, but on your own two hands carrying the load. Useless to ask about the crops. It all depends on hard work and fertilizer. If a man works hard, the land will not be lazy. I mean, and at the beginning of the chapter there is another one that says, wait, no one who can rise before dawn 360 days a year fails to make his family rich. I mean, like these sayings are awful, but they are the truth. They're the truth. Like for example, if you put the right amount of work, you're gonna be good at it. And what does the rice paddy culture have to do with mathematics? It's the fact that if you put a lot of effort on math, you're gonna be good. You're gonna be better. And like for example, they talk about how Asians cultures or even like the Asian language, it makes far more easier for kids to be better at math because we have like 11, 12, and writing the numbers or even thinking about the numbers require a lot of letters to remember them. And it's like for example, to say 1345, it's a lot easier in Chinese because it's just like fewer letters and they can remember even bigger numbers, and that makes it more enjoyable for them to maybe get better at remembering numbers. That has a consequence on being better at math. And but really comes down to the amount of effort you put on it. And it's not because they have a higher IQ or something like that. They are about the same statistically than everybody on the West, but it's the fact that they put the effort, and that effort, besides the thing of the numbers that may contribute a little bit, it's the fact that their culture is about hard work. So that's because I that's the reason why I love this book, because it is all about, yeah, you may have some opportunities in life, you have to take them, but but you have to also put the work. Even Bill Gates once was asked why he was successful, and he also said that he was lucky, and he was, but also he put in the work. Luck without the hard work, it's nothing. Okay? So, thank you very much for your time. It was a long video, but I really enjoyed doing it. I love this book. I hope I can keep bringing up books and talking about them with you. So, thank you very much. See you on the next one.